In the very last track of the amazing new album by Absol Soulburger, he has a line, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time with it. My future was looking bright, but my light was dimming. 'Cause no one likes a know-it-all, and I'm a know-it-all. Get to know me, y'all. Parentheses, get to know me, y'all. And this line really struck me for a couple reasons. One, I'm called a know-it-all quite often. I find it interesting that he himself acknowledges that's what he is called. You don't hear people talk about being know-it-alls in rap that often, or even in popular culture for that matter. And then number two, it was the end of the line, where he said, get to know me, like he was really making some sort of plea to understand him better. And that's what I want to do with this video. I don't know Absol. I don't know his music. I don't know his art hardly at all. So I want to get to know him. Which makes a kind of paradox, because how can I call myself a know-it-all if I don't know Absol? How can this possibly be? How can somebody who starts every video saying, thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor, who's a successful music YouTuber, over 100,000 subscribers, I'm an increasingly respected voice in the world of hip-hop criticism. I could be so bold to say. And yet somehow I don't know Absol. I've read books, many books on the history of rap and hip-hop. I've created classes. I've made a minor at my college. And yet, every single time someone in my comment section says, Skye, you really need to get hip to Absol, I just say, yeah, I'm sure I do. As a matter of fact, I got a comment, because I recently said I was going to review this, and I got a comment, and I'm not highlighting this to dunk on this person. I think they're right. They said, IDK, which means I don't know, also means a great rapper. IDK, if you should do Absol, a lot of ish gonna go over your head. True. Absolutely true. A lot is going to go over my head, because the things I don't know. So listen, if you want to watch an analysis of this album in which someone tells you facts that you already know, you're not going to like this video. Just click off. If you're going to be kind of sitting there like, does he know this? Does he know that? Okay, good. He said Carson. Okay, good. Is he going to mention Black Hippie? Okay, good. Yes, he did. His real name? Did he say the third or the fourth? Okay, check. If you're going to be doing that, that's okay. There's other channels that can tell you what you already know. What I want to do is I want to listen to him and talk about the confusion of being a know-it-all and not knowing things. Because that is the actual slogan of the channel. It's on my mug. It says it down there real small. Ignorance is profound. And I am profoundly ignorant about the art of Absol. Which I think, as you'll see, is tied into the themes of this album. That's why I'm talking about it here for a couple minutes. Ride with me. And the idea of ignorance is profound has a couple meanings. One, the reason I don't know about Absol is I am the Rip Van Winkle / Robert Van Winkle of music criticism. From 2002 to 2018, I suffered mid-20s music death, where I just thought all new music was trash and I didn't listen to it. So ever since then, when I started this channel, I've just been catching up. I missed an Absol release that came out during that time. I've just been trying to figure out who everybody is. I don't know who anybody is, outside of like Kanye and Kendrick, Jay-Z and Nas, I've been trying to catch up a lot. But also, I think there's meaning in ignorance, in acknowledging it. Like, you shouldn't be ignorant and proud, but you should be proud whenever you acknowledge your own ignorance, which is something which I believe Absol does quite often. I mean, the word ignorance just means do not know. Like, that's what it means. And that's where it gets into what I think makes this album is interesting, and what I hope I can bring to it is that my age, I think, helps. The fact that I'm an old, out-of-touch dude might help, because the older you get, the more you understand the difference between being smart and being wise. So I'm not very smart when it comes to Absol. Okay, this is his 7th album, and I can't name. His last album was called Herbert, and then I'm done. I don't know the rest of the other albums. I don't know what year he signed to TDE. I don't know anything like that. But yeah, so smart people know things, but wise people learn things. Stay tuned to the very end of the video, where I'll tell you a hilarious story about my friend Popeye that is a very funny anecdote about that. But this idea, wise people learn, smart people know, that's why I teach, and that's why I learn. And so I want you to sort of learn with me as I go through this album, learn from me as I bring in my perspective, which I think a lifetime of studying hip-hop and a lifetime of studying I don't know, literature and other stuff that got me a doctorate in humanities. And also feel free to teach me in the comments. Feel free to tell me, Skye, this makes reference to that, that makes reference to this, you totally missed this, because I'm not trying to duck criticism. I'm just tired of just sort of trying to pretend like, oh, yeah, I know that. I don't know anything. But this isn't an extended way of trying to duck criticism. It's actually really in line with the album itself. Going to the first track, 9 Mile, he has a line that says, "These days, I'd rather work out my flaws than flex on y'all." That's what I was doing. I was trying to work out my flaws. I'd rather work on my flaws than flex on y'all. It's a little something's better than a whole lot of nothing at all. Oh well. Hope you read between the lines like when we be spelling wrong. Okay, this line. This line. Hope y'all read between the lines when we be spelling wrong. So many interesting things happening here. First of all, he's doing his trick, right? He's a master lyricist. I know one album by Ab-Soul, I know a couple features, and I can tell you he's a master lyricist, and you can tell just by this one line. Because reading between the lines means what? Means, okay, trying to figure out what is actually being said, figure out the subtext of something that you're reading. Okay, so that's reading between the lines where there is nothing written, but also he's talking about a life in the American education system, and he is talking about when you make a mistake in between lines on a piece of paper, a teacher like me will go in, and I would do the letter O for orthographe in French. If you make a spelling mistake, I would just do that. I would just mark that. So it's actually reading between the lines, and it's reading between the lines. But what's important is how he ends it with "we be spelling wrong." He's intentionally using bad syntax, okay? Or non-standard syntax. It's not bad, it's non-standard. He's using non-standard syntax, which is corrected in American schools, and he's doing it as a way, I believe, to show kind of the opposite of what I'm trying to do. He's trying to show, despite where he comes from, so socioeconomically, despite his idiosyncratic grammar or bad spelling, he is still very, very intelligent and capable of wordplay and poetry at the highest possible level. But it's in the line itself. It's when he says "we be spelling wrong" in that line. You have to read in between the lines of him choosing to use the terms "we be spelling wrong." Because if you don't, if you just hear the flaw, if you just hear me say, "I've never listened to an Ab-Soul album before," and then you click off. If on the other side, you're an English professor, and you say, "Oh, he said we be spelling wrong. That doesn't make sense," right? You can write people off, but then you're going to miss all that beauty that's in between. So we can see the intelligence beyond the lack of formal training. So, another thing I need to add, and I just like to add this not every time I talk about rap music, but it's one of my favorite quotes. It's from a YouTube colleague, Justin Hunt, if I could be so bold. He said this once in reference to another white commentator on hip-hop, saying that he is not in the position to properly contextualize. And that is very true. I am not in the position to properly contextualize anything in rap music. I acknowledge my status as a tourist who does not know the lived experience of the people that I am describing, and probably has materially benefited from the life conditions of the people that I am describing, just in a societal way, right? But that's cool, because here I am, and I am in a position to analyze. That's the thing that I do for a living. So what do I know? I know that he was on this album, the Schoolboy Q album, one of the best features on that album. There's a lot of great features on that album. It's hard to beat Rico Nasty on that album. There's a lot of great features on that album. I know he was the best part of the J. Cole album, Might Delete Later. That's where I really learned about him, and I heard that verse, and I'm like, who is this guy? And everyone in the comments said, Skye, how do you not know who is this guy? And speaking of this, I also know there's something in the water at TDE. What's going on? Do you know what a good year for Rap 2024 is? We are going to look back, and we are going to say, oh, 2024 was one of the great years in the history of rap music. This album, Soul Burger, is so good, it probably cracks the top 10. Okay? That's how good of a year it is for rap music. This album, which is a borderline masterpiece, some weak sections in the middle, which I'll talk about. That's how good of a year it is. And whatever the hell's going on at TDE, it is outrageous. Between Doechii, between Schoolboy Q, between the sparrows in the bush over there, between Doechii and Schoolboy Q and this, it's outrageous. It's outrageous that they're on such a run here. You know, it's called Soulburger, which I have read. So I try not to do a lot of research. Partly because I like to maintain my ignorance when I study stuff. I try to do just enough research to be informed so I don't make huge mistakes. So, you know, I am aware that he has a friend named Doughburger who died. I don't know Doughburger. I don't know his story. I don't know why he died. I don't know anything about their friendship. Someone left a comment saying that this album is interesting because he's trying to adopt some of the swagger of Doughburger when he's normally more of a conscious rapper. And that's what I love. That's cool. That's cool that whoever told me that, I appreciate that. But I knew that. It's all over the album. This dichotomy that he's describing, it's all over the album. Like, you can figure that out just by listening to the text. So this album, I'd like to quote it one more time. So I've done 2 quotes from the album so far to describe my feelings on it. My favorite quote from the album is the following sophisticated line. Now that's ill. Okay? That's my review. If I had to have a 3-word review, it would be, now that's ill. Jesus Christ, this album is ill. Okay? In the greatest sense of 1980s hip-hop slang, this album is ILL. Jeez. What's great is the production. The first time I listened to it, I'm like, pretty good. It's not super memorable for the most part. That's actually what I wrote in my notes. No one likes to know it all. It's not super memorable for the most part, but it's solid. No, it's more than solid. It's superb. It's just, it takes a couple listens to really get into the production, because the production is intentionally taking a back seat so that you can hear Ab-Soul's lyrics. It's sample-based, very good sample. Sometimes the samples will tell stories, sometimes it sets vibes, sometimes it's very jazzy. We're living in a moment here of jazz rap. I know To Pimp a Butterfly came out, but it's not like everybody jumped onto the jazz rap train. Listen to a lot of rap right now. It's getting jazzier and jazzier as that goes along with the sort of growing sense of consciousness and the need of hip-hop to do something more than just talk about money and cars, which is what it's slowly transformed into in the mainstream. Where sort of those things might be tied together. That's actually how it was in the 80s as well. It was like, if you had rap based on jazz as opposed to funk, it was usually a symbol that you were more conscious. Anyways. But then sometimes the beats are trap beats. You know, I mean, not like full-on trap beats, but like trap instrumentation. It's just never boring. But really, it's Ab-Soul. He's the center of this album. And like, what the hell is... I know. Listen, you guys are not the Rip Van Winkle / Robert Van Winkle of music criticism. So you've been living with Ab-Soul, Schoolboy Q, and Kendrick Lamar. The fact that they had a group together, that's just hilarious to me. I've never listened to Black Hippie, so if I'm going to put that on my to-do list. I'm sure it's not as good as the sum of its parts, because that's the other thing. We are allowing rap to grow. We are allowing rappers to mature. And what we are doing, instead of shunning rappers for not being young, because it's a young man's game, right? Instead of forcing every great rapper to pick up a flute to get Grammy nominated for a flute album? That's overcorrection, Grammys. I know you're racist and terrible, but that doesn't... Anyways, I'm sorry. I don't talk about Grammys in general. Maybe I will. I haven't. But it felt offensive to me that Andre 3000 got nominated for the flute album. I feel like there's a lot of other flute albums that came out last year. Anyways, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that we are allowing rappers to mature, and as they grow up, people use the term grown man rap, but it's grown person rap, it's grown up rap. But that's too diminishing. It's actually just emotionally mature rap, because when you only allow art to be made by people who are young, you're not going to get a lot of emotional maturity. What was it that made Bob Dylan so wild was that he was a really young guy with a lot of emotional maturity. Most young people, when in their 20s, are not going to have any kind of really deep sense of understanding of the world or any of that. what's that term that I started the whole thing off with? Wisdom. Okay? They might be smart, but they won't be wise. So we're allowing this wisdom to be put onto wax, to be put onto music, to be put onto streaming, whatever. And that really comes through in Ab-Soul. Meanwhile, he's also very, I mean, someone also commented that it's okay I haven't listened to the rest of his stuff because he's reached a new level. And that's what I think is happening. I think all these, the same thing happened with Schoolboy Q. I've never listened to any Schoolboy Q until I listened to this. And I'm like, this is the album of the year so far. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I haven't officially decided what's going to win the Stampy for album of the year. But that's been in the running ever since it came out. But, he does. I mean, he is a master of homonym similes. Okay? So, similes is when you say something is like something else. Homonyms are when words mean the same thing. Like when one word has two meanings, how it's pronounced. This goes into that read between the lines thing, because, even if he uses improper or non-standard syntax by saying, we be spelling wrong, he has a line like this. Left fresh prince like Uncle Phil. So what a homonym does is it jerks you left to right or right to left. Like you're going down, you go, because the same word, left fresh prints. So he's talking about leaving fingerprints, leaving fresh fingerprints, which is a thing that people do because he's talking about having sex with somebody, right? So I left fresh prints, like Uncle Phil. Then when you hear the words Uncle Phil, your brain goes backwards in time and hears the same thing that your ears just heard and changes it to Prince from INTS. It's an amazing trick, and he does it a lot. He has multiple different flows. There's a whole conversation with Eminem going on here. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, remember how I was like, I could figure out Soulburger was a mashing of two different spirits of a person. I don't understand what Eminem has to do with this, but I know I hear a lot of Eminem flows. I hear a lot of Kid Cudi flows. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just sort of like the spirit of Eminem and the spirit of Kid Cudi live within him in the same way that the spirit of Doughburger and the spirit of Ab-Soul live within him. I don't know. Is someone shooting geese? Did you hear that? That sounded like gunshots, didn't it? I gotta tell you, I do not hear gunshots on my back porch, ever. I do hear geese. The worst thing I could say about this album is that some of the songs aren't great. But even when they're not great, they're always listenable. And usually, if it's a song I don't particularly like, there's something interesting about it. It's never just bad and boring. It just might be something that doesn't quite grab me. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into this album. We're going to start. I like to do a stamp, an example song, and preferably it's the first song, and it is in this case, 9 Mile. This is where it became clear to me what this album was about, just right off the bat. You have someone introducing Soulburger to the audience. Okay, so if we accept the basic idea that Soulburger is this amalgamation of Ab-Soul, the rapper who I don't know, and his recently deceased friend who I don't know, but that's fine, that this is them mixed together, then we have a new rapper. So what he's doing is he's announcing that what you're going to hear is not what he was before, it's going to be a new thing, it's going to be a hybrid. And what's cool is that it's all within the context of a song that's going to devolve into a satire / homage to that scene in 8 Mile where Eminem gets up and is doing the battle rap and talks about how lame he is, that famous scene. So it becomes a battle rap. So we have a battle rap where a rapper is battling against himself, where he's going to put forth one half of himself in these two verses, and he's going to be going against himself. And the first half, I assume, is going to be the more conscious side, okay, is going to be the knowledge side. That'll be the Ab-Soul verse, and then the second verse is going to be the Doughburger verse, and then they're going to merge together for the rest of the album, because it's kind of a concept album in the end. You can tell right off the bat because he says as the song gets ready, my daughter Carson just said Dada for the first time. It's awesome. So he's talking about being a family man. This ties into the sort of the spirit of Ab-Soul, I would imagine. Someone who's learning how to embrace his life as a family man and having happiness. You know why moms trick you? Mama is just it's the most natural sound that a baby's mouth makes. That's why it's like universal, almost universal, that baby's first words are mama, and that most mothers are some variation of the term mama in the language. Anyways, I remember the first time my kids called me Poppy. It was great. We had this sort of a gospel singing underneath this first part. Again, sort of the ethereal, it's not quite good versus evil, but it does seem sort of like conscious versus street. It does feel like it's this divide, which of course we've seen in many other rappers before, but it's always interesting. It's always interesting when it's done, especially when it's done well. So there's no beats in this first part. It's just this really sparse, space-filled vocal performance. Good Lord. Ab-Soul is a tremendous rapper. Now that's ill. Amazing verse over Steady Are You Eddie, which I'll talk about in a second, over this little vocal sample. And then he like raps, and then he gives himself a bit of space. Mayday, mayday, melee, melee. It seems like he is maybe even a veteran of like slam poetry. I don't know anything about this guy, but I'm telling you, his ability to deliver these lines feels to me like somebody who is familiar with that art as well. Go back to those homonyms. Ain't hard to tell like Sonic's little homies. Ain't hard to tell. So ain't hard to tell. Understand. Like Sonic's little homies. Bring that beat back. Bass for your face, London. Bring that beat back. Bring that beat back. Once he says Sonic little homies, ain't hard to tell. Tail. Oh, now it's Tail because Sonic's little homie is named Tails. But also, how many tails does Tails have? Why is he not called Tail? Sonic's little homie Tails has 2 tails, so ain't hard 2 tails like Sonic's little homie. You have to listen to these words. You hear that, right? It's not just me. Wild. It ain't hard 2 tails, 2 tails, 2 tails. Awesome. And then we get the beat change. And here we have the sample. If you're I don't know, listen, he's probably what? I think he's like 10 years younger than me. Yeah, because most of those guys are like 10 years younger than me. Like Kendrick Lamar or Sidney Crosby. So like there's a beat change. And we have what was before these voices come up to the front. And it's the song, Back to Life, Back to Reality. This famous, I think it was like a house pop R&B song. It was from a British group. What was their name? It'd be cool if their name was meaningful. Oh yes, it was Soul to Soul. Ab-Soul to Soulburger. Back to life, bringing his friend back to life. While at the same time, having the difficulty of coming back to reality that your friend's dead. I don't know. Is this on purpose? I don't know Ab-Soul's work well enough to give him the credit to say that's on purpose, but I will tell you based on listening to one album, hell yes, it's on purpose, and it's awesome. Then it mixes in the beat to Shook Ones, part 2. The great Prodigy song, the great Mobb Deep song. I think Havoc actually produced that beat, right? Point is, the great Mobb Deep song. And what's, first of all, speaking of respect, that includes a sample from the song Kitty with the Bent Frame by Quincy Jones, who recently passed. A lot of great samples from Quincy Jones all over the place. Not just the Austin Powers theme, but he did a lot of stuff, not just the Thriller album. But what's interesting is, by mixing in Shook Ones, he's made, like, Shook One's popularity was like this. People who knew rap was up here, but the general populace didn't know the song, because the general populace didn't know Mobb Deep. Then 8 Mile comes out, and it becomes the song. It replaced All About the Benjamins as, like, the basic beat if you want to do a freestyle and you want it to sound badass, right? Sorry, there's still Elmer Fudd's in the back there shooting at geese. I got some kind of drama happening in my backyard. So much drama on the LBC. So Shook Ones is the universal. It's associated so closely with 8 Mile, and then we have the song called 9 Mile, and then we have this satire where he's rapping just like Eminem, but it sounds like he's making fun of it, but he's actually using it to his advantage because he's telling the truth about his life. Ironically, if this is his kind of like stupid side, his more like kind of street side, his less conscious side, he's actually being more honest and perhaps being more revealing and truthful than on the beginning. I am broke. I am on effing drugs. I don't own shit. I'm paying rent for my baby's mom. I did jump off a bridge on Del Amo Boulevard. I'm blessed but question how God would have mercy on a junkie. Of the few things I do know about him is his suicide attempt. He talked about it on an interview with Charlamagne the God. And this is the detail, from Del Amo Bridge. But he talks about Del Amo a lot, and then I looked it up, and that's the part of town that he's from Carson, California, which, by the way, I've been to Carson. It's crazy. It's awesome that things are coming from Carson. It's not a place you'd think a lot of great things could come from, but it's awesome. Del Amo Bridge. Last night, I was looking through my notes, and I was like, I get it. Del Amo. Amo, meaning soul. Del, meaning from. Ab is a prefix in many words coming from Latin, which means to come from, like the ablative case in if you study declensions in Latin grammar. So, ab soul actually means from the soul in a weird kind of linguistic playful way, in the same way that Del Amo means. And also, that was the place where he tried to take his own life but failed because his fall was broken by a car, apparently. What? Hey, man. This dude is living. This is some pretty powerful stuff. Jumping off of a bridge that carries your own name, and that name itself says from the soul when you are trying to snuff out your life on existence. And by the way, if you believe in Christianity, put your soul irreparably in hell, which is what happens if you commit aside. How do I say I don't get demonetized? I don't know. I don't care anymore. The goblins aren't watching. They tuned out. The goblins tuned out. Anyways, a beautiful verse. Biggest lie I ever told is ain't about the money. Hopped out the rabbit hole, but now I'm really tripping. Rabbit's the name of the character from the movie, right? That's the name of Eminem's character. I'm still standing here screaming F the whole system. And then it ends with the discussion of the fusion of these two sides. Now we just a fusion like Trunks and Gohan? I don't know. I don't know what Trunks and Gohan. I know Gohan is from Dragon Balls, right? That's how you pronounce that. So maybe that's like two characters who fuse together. Because later he says Huey and Riley combined. So that's Boondocks. I may not know like anime, but it doesn't mean I don't know Boondocks, right? Don't know it super well, but I've watched it enough. So the idea of these two sides combined, this is the thesis of it, knowledge and nines. I assume nines meaning 9mm gun, and knowledge meaning that. That's what this is. This is all fused together. That's who he is. And I sort of wonder if, Christmas is coming up. Halloween is just over, therefore Christmas is immediately starting. I was at Wegmans trying to buy discount candy on November 1st, and they're already putting out Christmas candy. We live in a hellscape. You ever see that movie, It's a Wonderful Life? You see it on Christmas. Jamie Stewart. Oh, you think... Sorry, now I got deer in the backyard. This is a very distractible Professor Skye you got here. It's a Wonderful Life is about someone who's about to commit suicide, and then he sees what life would be like if he was never born, and what life would be like if he continued, and it's this beautiful thing about like the importance of living and how great it is. This album, to a certain extent, feels like it might be sort of It's a Wonderful Life, like somebody who realizes the value of their life because of how close they came to taking it. So maybe this is a hip-hop, It's a Wonderful Life. I almost structured the whole video around that thesis as opposed to the ignorance one, but I didn't feel like watching that movie again, so... Merry Christmas to one and all! Oh, Mr. Wayne! Next track is called Payday. Oh, this great ominous beat. Again, the trap drum set. It's not a drum. It's not, it's just 808 drums, but it's just this great compressed voice. I'm a slave to this ish. Had to work for my whip. So multiple times on this album, he talks about being a slave to the artistic process, to having to create in order to be free. Okay, know how we slide, divide and conquer that ish. All I want is a crib, signatures on my check. To the left with the lip, zip it like Dr. Evil, ride or die. Evil Knievel. Remember earlier when I mentioned Austin Powers? It's because I've been thinking about Austin Powers ever since this lyric. Because there's the famous scene between Dr. Evil and Scott, his son, with zip, zip it, zip it. Where he just does, like, this is a very specific, this is not, like, behave baby or any of the other stuff. This is like a very specific reference to a movie, which, again, I find it easier to relate to musicians when I know they also love comedy. Probably because comedy is a sign of intelligence, but also just because I love comedy so much. Ride or Die, Evil Knievel. So there's a lot of references on here that I won't get. Oh, Skye. Lost Stuff's going to go over your head. It's true. Okay? Like where do you get to a verse later in this album? I don't get any of it. Oh, chili at EBT. Okay, so, but Evil Knievel, that's before my time even. He was a famous stuntman in the 70s. I don't know how some dude born in the 80s would know of a stuntman in the 70s, but there you go. That's the breadth of his references. And then his voice changes and the flow changes as his voice doubles. F y'all pay me, Casino. Same song, new beat. And then his voice changes and it's a little bit more whiny, and there's these sirens in the back. And it's like the other spirit in this album pops up, this money obsessed spirit. 100 million trillion mother effing, just saying amounts of money. Very energetic. And then it ends with the term, welcome to Soul Burger, home of the Soul Burger. And this is what was funny. So again, I was waiting for this album to come out because I knew it would be an excuse for me to get to know this artist who people tell me is great, right? A$AP Rocky. I've never listened to an A$AP Rocky album. I cannot wait for that album to come out so I can figure out what he's about. I'm excited. So when I saw the album was called Soul Burger, I was like, immediately I thought of the 1997 movie Good Burger. Now, why have I seen Good Burger? I did not have Nickelodeon growing up. I have never seen a second of Nickelodeon teen programming, except on the reviews of that Quentin guy. I've watched all of his stuff because he's a very good YouTuber and his analysis are amusing and thorough. But I've never watched all that. I had no idea, but I was in 1997 with my friend Brad, and literally there was nothing else playing. I don't know what. We went and saw Good Burger, and it was so weird. We went and saw Good Burger and loved it. It was I was 20 years old, 20-year-olds, and hey man, I don't smoke weed. So I'm sure that movie is the kind of movie you might enjoy more if you toked doobies. I don't know. But I can tell you, as a totally straight-laced 20-year-old, I went in there and enjoyed the hell out of that movie. Turned out it was directed by a guy named Brian Robbins, and I'd watched the show Head of the Class growing up, one of my favorite shows. Dan Schneider was also on that show. So, it was just this whole great thing. So ever since then, it's been funny because it helps me to relate to people who are younger than me, because that movie and that show and that thing was so important to them. And I know that. Every time I see Keenan on Saturday Night Live, I think, oh, there's the dude from Good Burger. That's the first thing I think of. Even though he's been on Saturday Night Live since before I was born, I think of him as, oh, there's that dude from Good Burger. So it was a funny thing because I was like, how could you call, there's no way that that's on purpose. I'm sure he's just going to be skirting around it. And then it ends up being an important thing. And then when you actually think about the movie is about two kids, two black guys who are sort of unlikely friends, who have different personalities, and who work together towards a common good. Good Burger, Soul Burger, Good Burger, Soul Burger. It's on purpose. It's meaningful. It's not a joke. It doesn't make it less important or less relevant. It's awesome. And then it leads right into the song called All That, where he directly references Keenan and Kel, the actors from Good Burger. So, like, anyways. So it's a very funny thing, because sometimes your mind will make associations and you go, that's way too stupid. There's no way that this great LA rapper who's worked with Kendrick is going to be making a Good Burger reference, but there you go. Then we get to All That. Like, I don't know if this... Okay, it's not my favorite song on the album, but this album is so good, there's multiple songs. So, like, is that my favorite song on the album? This great, simple piano blare and these little trap drums and just head nudge and great bass work. And this lyric, same soup, I just had to reheat it. They know my name, ain't have to repeat it. I'm with the rah-rah, with the blah-blah, all that, like Keenan and Kel. Thirsty P kind of growls through his part of the beat, and then we get to Jason Martin's verse. And this is where I'm talking about that, okay? I enjoy this. Some people listen to music that reflects life that is not theirs, and they just get so alienated they get turned away. Or if they're white dudes like me, they go, well, I shouldn't be commenting on this. But to me, I study 17th century French literature. That's what I got my doctorate in. I don't know what the hell their life was like. I don't know what life was like in the court of Versailles. I can't relate to that. I don't know what that's like. But I can hear the way they describe life. I can hear things, and I can... So this opening lyric. What? We checked your file. You are not CPT. You never swapped chili for EBT. So, like, I think I get it. I think CPT refers to Compton. So, saying, like, you're not actually from the hood. You never swapped chili for EBT. I believe EBT, that's like the term for the food stamp program. I don't know what it stands for, but that's what it is. So like buying chili with that, but like maybe chili means something else. I don't know. My ignorance is profound, and I can just sit with that. I can sit with that ignorance of not really knowing. Maybe CPT refers to a specific part of Compton. Maybe it refers to a specific set in Compton. I don't know what it stands for. I just know that those are agreeable sounds put together with an excellent voice behind them. We checked your file, you ain't CBT, you never swapped chili for EBT. Beautiful. And it just, the depth and the flow, I mean, I don't... Not only do I not know Jason Martin's work, I've never heard of him, okay? Like, I think I've had students named Jason Martin. I don't think this is one of them, Anyways. And it's great because the first verse makes reference to the Fugees, we be to rap as key bees to lock. And then here it follows that same format, we be to west, but nose be to snot. A sort of unpleasant image, but also a very cool one because it's following that same thing. It's nice when you know that guest rappers are listening to the actual song. And then California Dream. Weird... I need a second here. Because this beat is what I'm talking about. Do not underestimate the beats on this album. It's this weird kind of like reggae style, fractured, far away little sample, kind of breezy. Because, it's called California Dream, so it kind of ties you together to the idea of a California dream. Vince Staples comes up here. Oh, right. This is why I'm saying that this album by Ab-Soul is so good it might crack the top 10. Because the Vince Staples album came out this year. Okay? That's how good of a year it is. That album came out, and I forget to list it whenever I talk about the best albums of the year, despite the fact it very clearly was. Just his great laconic voice. Oh, man. He is so chill that he drops this line that absolutely destroyed me without even thinking about it the first 5 times I listened to it. Dope man had my daddy hooked, shooter like Kareem. Ow! So he's talking about his father being a literal heroin addict. So you're hooked. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is famous for the Skye hook, where you throw it over your head like that, I think I hit a sparrow. He's famous for that, the Skye hook, the me hook. But then also, like, shooter is like someone who shoots. like, who shoots a basketball. But then also, to shoot heroin is what you do. So he's a shooter like Kareem. So, like, he's being super... he's being super clever. What a clever lad he is in describing his father's heroin addiction. Jesus Christ. This is the most painful thing you could possibly hear. Your father being a heroin addict? I mean, my parents were addicts, but not to heroin. Jesus Christ. Man, that is a strong line. Vince Staples, everybody. This is why, again, let's go back to this big three thing. Are you serious? Like, are we trying... Vince Staples... I'm independent, but I'm signed to UMG. That's a funny line. I'm in the trenches, but I grew up walking distance from the beach. Yeah, living out the California dream. Yeah, that's the truth about California. It's a beautiful place to live. But as Woody Guthrie said, if you ain't got the do-re-mi, you better go back to beautiful Texas, Kansas, Tennessee. California is a garden of Eden, a pleasure to live in or see. But believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. If you don't have money, California is this beautiful paradise where you're always in peril, where you're in the trenches but near the beaches. Then this little, like, muted trumpet interlude and this crazy cascading rhythms everywhere, and then Absol verse. Herbert Stevens IV, that's intravenous because he's the fourth, right? But then also intravenous, but then also that ties into the Kareem line from Vince Staples, because when you shoot heroin, you're taking it intravenously. Read between the lines, and then, hey, Vince Staples, one of the albums of the year. Lupe Fiasco, one of the albums of the year. Doechii, one of the albums of the year. All of them have guest appeared on this album. Do they have the best guest verse on the album? Hell no. Some other dude I've never heard of named Cam Carson has the best guest verse on the album. How did that happen? I don't know. But this whole verse... I kind of don't like it when rap is like, the real hip-hop, man. You got to go back to the realness. I like it when it just does real hip-hop. I mean, it doesn't have to say it. So this is a dude rapping over no beat with the sound of the city in the background. And that's ill. It is such an ill verse. It's specific, it's personal, it's funny. He's telling his life in, I assume, Carson, California. Curtis Middle School, 8th grade, couldn't handle me. Playing suicide, got socked if you dropped the tennis B. Ball harder, kid watching the golf. There used to be a game that I used to play in middle school and high school, and I try to tell people this, and it's not universal. It's not played in every school, and it's not played the same way in every school. It turns out it was played in Belmont, Massachusetts, and Carson, California, where you take a tennis ball and you throw it against the wall. The game is called suicide, okay? And you throw it against the wall, and then you catch it. And if you drop it, then you have to go up against the wall, and they hit you as hard as they possibly can with the tennis ball, okay? So he's talking about like this, like the emotional state that goes behind putting one's out, while also talking about the specific life of middle school, also talking about how ruthless it is. This whole verse is just so good and so strong, and it's what rap music can be. It doesn't require anything. It doesn't even require a microphone. It doesn't even require a beat. It requires a human voice. I guess this is as good of a time as any to check how my 2-year-old is doing. Who does say Poppy, which is nice. This is my baby monitor. I'm just going to let the siren go off. Maybe they're going to catch Elmer Fudd back there shooting all my geese. Or maybe not. Seriously, what is going on in the suburbs of Rochester, New York? Wild. Then we get to the other song that might be my favorite song off the album, Bucko Jr. Not Bucko the Fourth. So hard trap drums and these rising haunted keyboards. The first 5 tracks on this album are just as good as rap music can be. And this, okay, I do a thing where when I find a verse interesting, I just cut and paste. It's actually hard to cut and paste from Genius. I'll have to talk about that with Rob Markman next time we do Culture United together and be like, hey, what's going on? Why is it so hard to cut and paste from Genius? But anyways, I do that, and I hope it doesn't like accidentally like copy like 1,000 Levi's commercials into my notes app. But you know, like, and a great rap album. Like I have 33 pages of notes on this album because I just kept on cutting and pasting, because like so many verses from Ab-Soul, you just go, oh, ooh, oh, Underground Emperor to 2024, Bun B and Pimp C, I'm sipping codeine, ain't grenadine, my soda prettier in pink than Molly on the movie screen, a Molly Ringwald reference right next to a Underground Kings reference. Like, absolutely insane. Just the breadth of references in there. Because you've probably never seen Pretty in Pink. The Molly Ringwald movie, John Hughes, John Cryer playing Ducky. The most annoying character in the history of movies. God. Oh, I hate Ducky. Ooh, I hate Ducky. If you hate Ducky, tell me in the comments. I hate Ducky. Oh, I hate Ducky. Sorry, the cold's getting to me. I am legitimately trying to figure out why are there so many gunshots behind me. Like, this is a very... it's a very weird thing happening. And then later he says, I ain't lying, used to sing. I ain't lying, used to sing. I just can't wait to be king. Left it and scarred, hyenas laughing at everything. So just in 2 lines, he tells you the entire story of the movie Lion King. And you might have just missed the whole thing. Because if you didn't pick up on I just can't wait to be king, which is one of the most obnoxious songs from the Lion King, actually. And not Iago. What's the name of the bird? The stupid bird. Is the stupid bird Iago? The stupid bird is a lot actually like Ducky's character from Pretty in Pink. Anyways, I ain't lying, used to sing, I just can't wait to be king. So lion, homophone, lying and lion. Lion King, Lion King. He is a king of lion, but also he is a lion king who can't wait to be king, because that's how you feel the ambition as you're growing up on the streets. So you're growing up as a young man, you just can't wait to be king, but left scarred. Scarred is the name of the antagonist in the movie Lion King. Hyenas laughing at everything. Hyenas are in that whole movie. So you can listen to the whole thing and listen to those 2 lines and just have one experience. Oh, I got to tell the truth. I always wanted to be the best, but it left me deformed, and now all the vultures are picking at me. Like, you could just say that, and like that's how the line reads. Or it could be someone who is really into Lion King, a movie which I saw 4 times in the theater. 4 times. I really enjoyed that. And again, just all these lyrics. Great like Alexander and Alexander McQueen. Alexander McQueen's the designer and Alexander the Great. So great like Alexander and Alexander the McQueen. Plus, again, we're doing this thing of multiple people combining into one. So Alexander the Great and McQueen, mixing those together. Skate like Tony Hawk. You're a novice. Try an ollie. Tyson up in the ring with Muhammad Ali. So mixing together Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson into one person. So Alexander the Great and Alexander McQueen. Dough Burger and Ab-Soul Soul Burger. Tyson Ali. Like the 2 best boxers of the history of the universe, back in like 73, talking about the Rumble in the Jungle when he was actually fighting against, oh shit, I'm just getting it. I'm sorry, I'm just getting it. Tyson up in the ring back like in 73, because in 73 was the great, well, that's where oh my god, Ab-Soul. 73 is where Tyson invented the rope-a-dope maneuver, okay, where he's fighting against George Foreman. I talked about this in a video recently. He's fighting against George Foreman. I talked about it actually in relationship to the Drake-Kendrick beef. He's fighting against George Foreman, and George Foreman is stronger and younger and tougher. And so he just lets himself get beat for the first couple rounds while letting Foreman use up all of his energy, and he's using the ropes to help him absorb a lot of the energy and a lot of the hits. And then after a couple rounds, he comes out and just attacks him and just knocks him out. That happened in 1973. That was in Zaire, Rumble in the Jungle. Amazing movie called When We Are Kings, one of my favorite movies to watch. So, oh my god, so that's all in there? So he's like Muhammad Ali back in 73, but he's also making reference to Mike Tyson? The analogy is you won't want to be casually battling me. The analogy is you won't want to be casually battling me. Casually battling me. Casually battling me. He's also a master of words and the way they sound. You think you talented? I grab you by my talons and eat your DNA leaking like molasses off my beak. I need more like eeny, meeny, miny, acting real Mickey. That's why many can't find me. Do you see? I had to stop. I have to stop. I have the rest of the verse written out. It's just that good. I'm off the chain. I'm top bow. I'm top dog. I'm all bite, no bow wow. Awesome. Just amazing. It says TDE is the Army, better yet the Navy, which is like a reference to a line from the Takeover from the Blueprint, which itself... So it's a paraphrase of Jay-Z. Jay-Z was paraphrasing BG. For Cash Money is the Army and the Navy. I would have my copy of Chopper City in the Ghetto, but I don't know where it is. I'm actually like, I often lose my CDs. I'm legitimately upset. I do not know where my copy of Chopper City in the Ghetto is. Kind of tying into this, like the labels and the 90s and the history. And then at the end, that's where we get that whole line, the Fresh Prince. He goes on another sort of Eminem style run, just this comedic sex lines. He talks about, like, it came on your throw pillow. Just, oh my God, just keeps going. He refers to himself as not the goat, but the boat, as in the best of all times. That's funny. It's true, because who wants to be a goat? Goat is also slang for something bad. Oh. And then we get to the first disappointment of the album, which is wild, because it's Doechii, who released, Doechii's so hot right now, like she got Grammy nominated, which she should be, but there are some other snubs, but that's fine. Hey, it's not her fault. She should be nominated, and so should other people. Maybe Eminem doesn't need to be nominated every time he drops an album. I don't mean to be nuts. I don't mean to be crazy. That album is fine. But in an album where it's hard to fit into the top 10, Eminem doesn't need to be there just by default. Okay. But like, it's interesting. So this is, I think, the end of this insane beginning of the album. Sorry, like the sun is moving there. It looks kind of nice. The light's a little bit nicer on me like this. The sun's coming from over there. But the more I listen to the song, the more I end up liking it and thinking it's kind of enjoyable. Got to get up off this hamster wheel. A little pain ain't never hurt nobody. That's another theme in this album. It's about the value of pain. I could do a whole thing on here because the later Punch is going to say a similar thing to a similar effect. Like, there is a degree to which this album is about the value of suffering and how it can bring you maybe that wisdom. Man, this album is rich. This album is so good. It's just weird that Doechii doesn't get to rap because the verse that he's rapping, Ab-Soul's verse, is actually very Doechii-like. Like, they want me to rap like this, they want me to rap like that, right? Remember the song Boom Bap off that Grammy-nominated Doechii mixtape? And it's all about keeping the personhood and fame. I don't. I can't. The camera flash says, I wait. I won't. I ain't. But just why not have Doechii rap? I don't know. It talks about his therapist. I really appreciate that. Again, this is grown-up rap. This is learning how to deal with the pain that you have. Because that's the thing. Pain can make you stronger, but you have to learn to work with the pain and figure out how to not have it be something that you're just suppressing and acting out on, That's how it can help you. D&D featuring Notorious Nick and IQ. It's just a great song all about the value of role-playing games. It talks about being a level 4 paladin. And no, that doesn't stand for Dungeons & Dragons. It stands for Do Not Disturb. Kind of simple drums, suspenseful, blaring sounds. This awesome bass line. Of all the things that TDE does super well, I think using actual musicians sparingly but well is one of the things they do. It sort of barely starts. Like, it's a fine song, but it's not up to the standard of the first 5. There's this female rapper who's on here is fine. I only emphasize the fact that she's female because she kind of does the tropes of, like, I got a big ass and I can F and all that stuff, and that's okay. It's okay, but it's not what I wanted. It's like you just had Doechii on and she didn't rap, and then you have someone else who's good. This is not a bad verse. It's a good verse. It's not what when you read the liner notes and you see Ab-Soul featuring Doechii, you're like, here we go. And instead she's just like, it's dumb da dum dum dum. But then there's a really nice beat change at the end where it gets all kind of heavenly and standing in my power. Then we get to another kind of not great song, Don Julio. The thing I like about this is the interchange with Fresh Short Dog. I don't Oh, again, another blind spot in rap that I have here. There's a great back and forth between them, but it's weird because like this album feels like it's sort of anti-substance abuse, and then this song is kind of like a pro-drunk song. Longtime viewers of this channel will know that probably my favorite rap album of all time is Act a Fool by King T. Probably. That's probably my favorite rap album of all time. DJ Pooh produced the whole thing. King T rapped it. Every line is great. It's the best of 90s West Coast rap, in my opinion. And I followed King T's career, but then like he literally became such an alcoholic that that's all he rapped about. Like he has this album called The Triflin' Album that's just about like being a drunk, and then like he helped to find the alcoholics, and it's like, yeah, no, that's cool. You can rap about this thing that's making you hurt and suffer and is making your art worse. So I don't know. Any kind of like, this has a real kind of alcoholic vibe. Man, the light is getting super intense, huh? Is this even watchable, this light? Why am I talking like this? Here, let's move this like that so I'm at least in the shadow. Or I shouldn't be in the shadow. I don't even know anymore. Another interesting kind of... Okay, you know what? I'm just here. I'm going to move back. I'm going to move back over here. There we go. That way the light's a little more even. All right. Now I'm going to get sunburned at 7:53 on a Sunday. But, you know, it's cute, it's funny. That's related to Drankenstein. It's hard to really understand if he's trying to sort of criticize his own drinking habits or if he's trying to encourage them. And the back and forth is nice because it's the only time on the album I could think of where there's an actual back and forth with two different people. And then in the end he's too drunk. And then we get to GoPro. It's not good. It's a bad song. Okay? I was listening to this album and I'm like, oh, we might have another masterpiece. And then GoPro comes out. And listen, I used to say that if you see Ty Dolla $ign on an album, you know it's going to be a great feature because he is one of the great feature artists of all time. But there's also a thing of where you see Ty Dolla $ign and you go, oh, there might be kind of a grody sex song on here. Sorry, I'm still just freaking out about the light here. And it's that thing, you know. She's squirting. All right. Okay. I do like how it gets kind of Kid Cudi style here from Ab-Soul. That's kind of nice. I thought the lyric he said was, "I bought R. Kelly a crocodile." I'm like, I know people can smuggle things into jail, but I don't think you can smuggle a crocodile. So I had a whole little fun image in my head of like R. Kelly with the orange jumpsuit, like in his cell with a crocodile. But I think he's actually talking about a Kelly bag. I don't know what, but it's a skip. It's a real skip. Like, I don't use that term skip very often. I don't like the term skip or mid. I try to stay away from them, but skip this mid. Next track's called Saudi Sweats. We're now in the jazzy realm, okay? We're now on the jazzy tip with the shuffle, the drums being played with brushes and the kind of jaunty keyboards. I don't know when the sun's going to leave me alone. Kind of very Cudi style again, like even just the way he says yeah is like the Cudi yeah. And it's like, is he actually talking about how important money is, or is he making a commentary about talking how important money is? I don't know. It seems like he's doing a satire of money rap, a sort of intentional exaggeration to make fun of it. So I think we say, you ain't talking about Fetty, I don't want to listen, all that stuff. And again, like, this is where I don't love it, but it's interesting. This kind of lounge rap. Then the album is, you know, when you watch movies and the plane is like dipping down, and then they pull up on the, or pull down. They pull down on the thing to pull the nose up. This album does that. So it was like, and then you get to GoPro, and then you start pulling up with the last one, and then we get to Squeeze first two. Just these great woozy horns rising. Oh, just a killer horn line. Eating rappers like chicken quesadillas with extra cheese and pico de gallo, thinking that they fire, but they easily mild. awesome. Just awesome lyrics. Really killer chorus. Thou shalt not fuck with raw meat. I love that because you hear raw meat, right? Like, don't mess with raw meat. You know, my wife's super into kitchen safety. The Dr. and Miss is really into kitchen safety. I'm not. I grew up like a Wolverine. I did. My parents used to my parents used to cook a chicken. Probably bought a chicken cooked, one of those little rotisserie things. Leave it on a plate for like 2 days, like not refrigerated. I just go by 72 hours after chicken has been sitting out at room temperature, and just take little bits of it off. Anyways, thou shalt not fuck with raw meat. It's great. Face 1,000 Deaths from Mr. Herbert Anthony Stevens, IV, full of potent dope. Again, tying into that concept of intravenous and dope, tying all the way back to that Kareem line from... it's just great. Just really great. And then ties... Okay. Okay, so then he references the producer. His name is Crooklyn. Crooklyn, one of my favorite movies. Now, me and Crooklyn making movies. So Crooklyn is also the name of a Spike Lee movie. Spike Lee has a lot of great movies. A lot of movies which you wish were better. Crooklyn is one of those movies that is not quite great, but there's great things in it. That's my take on it. Spike, Please Do the Right Thing, which is also a Spike Lee movie. One of his great movies. Don't Sue Me, Still Fighting the Good Fight. Read the autobiography of Malcolm X as a Christian. So before I get to the Malcolm X part, Malcolm X is also a Spike Lee movie. One of his greats, okay? So he's talking about Spike Lee and goes through a whole bunch of his filmography right there. Do the Right Thing, Crooklyn, and Malcolm X. And also, just, I talk about this book a lot. People ask me, Skye, you're a smart guy. What books should I have in my library? This is it. In my opinion, this is the most important book you can read, at least as an American. I think you need to have read the autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Alex Haley. So the fact that he's quoting it here is very nice. It makes me feel like I know him a little bit better, because not a lot of people talk about that book, even though I really think they should. Started questioning the Reverend like this, tripping. Like a lot of this book, what makes it so fascinating is that it's him analyzing why he does what he does and why his people do the things that his people do and why the people do things to his people the way they do things to his people. It's an amazing study. It's a very clear-eyed view of the systems of power and racism in America. And it's astounding. It's just an astounding work. And so this is just a perfect little kind of throwaway because it's true. You read that book and you start questioning everything. The president, the government, and the Reverend. Why you think we always in some bond? Because they don't want us to combine. So what's fascinating is... damn it, Absol! I'm just figuring this out. I thought this video was going to be 20 minutes long. I thought I was just going to get up here and say, that's ill, and move on, but I can't. Because let me tell you something. He made reference to Do the Right Thing. And when you think of Do the Right Thing, when you know that movie as well as I do, you think of the fact that it's about combining power. It's about black power and the need to sort of, holy shit. The need to combine the more militant forces and the more pacifistic forces, which is symbolized by the character walking around with a picture of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X saying, Malcolm, Martin. And, the main character's name is Mookie, so I think that's supposed to be sort of on purpose, right? So I'm just working through this right now. Right now, while I'm talking to you, I'm working this through. Because when he's mentioning Malcolm X and he's mentioning Spike Lee, so you're supposed to think of the movie Malcolm X, but then you're also supposed to think of Do the Right Thing, which itself was a meditation on these two opposing figures. By turning Mookie into Malcolm, Martin, Mookie. Mookie is the soul burger of Do the Right Thing. He's the conglomeration. He is the mixing of those opposing ethoses. Because what the white devil wants, what the white supremacist power structure wants is division. We want Malcolm and Martin apart forever, because when they get together as Mookie, they might actually pose some kind of threat. So in this song, when he says, why you think we always in some bond, because they don't want us to combine, he's talking about black unity, which is true. That's what the white supremacist system does not want. I don't know if you watched Justin Hunt's reaction to the election. I would watch it if I were you. It's really good. He talks about the need to have a sort of expressly pro-black force in American politics, okay? Because the separation is where we benefit. If the Ab-Soul and the Dough Burger are seen as being totally opposite and at war with each other, it is easier to control them. So we don't want them to combine. This is awesome. This is great. This is just great art. It's just great art. And it's just getting deeper. And this... it's been out for 3 days. It's been out for 3 days. And this... Not for nothing, I want to read you a quote from Malcolm X about ignorance. It's not from the book. Yeah, it's from a different... I don't know where and when he said it, but it came from a different book on Malcolm X. It's often quoted on the internet. Ignorance of each other is what has made unity impossible in the past. Therefore, we need enlightenment. We need more light about each other. Light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience. And patience creates unity. Once we have more knowledge, light, about each other, we will stop condemning each other, and a united front will be brought about. That is Malcolm X talking about this need for unity, or in the words of Ab-Soul, the need to combine. As long as we don't have ignorance of each other. The first step is acknowledging the ignorance, and then you learn to try to see the other person's perspective. You learn to suffer with them. You learn compassion, which is the most enduring and important message in all world religions. Compassion, which literally means to suffer with somebody. Passion means suffer. Come means with suffer. Suffer with. When I can listen to Vince Staples talk about his father being a junkie, and I can imagine the experience of where he grew up and the life of and the life in to be in Black America during the war on drugs, right? And understand how traumatizing that might be. I can't feel the pain, but I can try to suffer with him. That can rid me of my ignorance. It doesn't mean that I know what it's like. But it means that I can sympathize, I can have compassion, I can try to understand, and that can give me patience. And then it's not just unity amongst the oppressed, but it can be unity amongst the oppressor and the oppressed. Anyways, now we get to my favorite song on the album, Crazier. What the hell? What the hell, Ab-Soul? What the hell is this song? Holy... This song is so good. Hey, old fucks. I'm talking to you, me, 6 years ago. You think rap was better in the 90s? You think rap in the 90s could have made a song as good as Crazier? I'm not sure. Good Lord. The beat is outrageous. The simple bongo sound, these little bloops. And then we just have two rappers at the absolute top of their game. Killing it. Just good Lord. Jid absolutely kills it. He knows he's ready to battle. Born, raised here, like a raisin in the sun, cutting coke with a razor. It's getting crazier. I'm nasally Nas, but I'm more Jay-Zer. Nas and Jay-Z, again, combining these two different forces. All over this album, there's two different people who combine into one. Tyson, Foreman, Nas, Jay-Z, awkwardly walking back on the tracks like Ryan Shazier, a football player who was permanently paralyzed by that sport. Science is great, but God's greater, more wavier. We made it this far. Tip the bartender, sign an autograph for the waiter. Just... his whole verse is just, you could just do the whole, just quote the whole damn thing. His style, his power, his, like the smallness and the bigness of his voice at the same time. And then we just go straight into Ab-Soul's verse, and Ab-Soul's verse is just as good, just in a West Coast laconic way. I had to stop my family. I had to stop them. I was listening to this album, and I had to stop them. I had to say, everybody stop and listen to this lyric. Phoenix out of the ashes like they cremated Joaquin. Joaquin Phoenix, cremated out of the ashes. Oh my God, my pen is more impressive than your lock screen. They get jittery when they're in the vicinity with Jid and me. You grow a money tree and then they get shadier. Foundations grow shakier. You remember what happened to the savior. The ish only get crazier. He also makes a diaper genie reference. Dude's a real dad. Diaper genie. I don't use diaper genies anymore. There's actually better systems. I used to use diaper genie. How is my little... Okay, we're doing well. This is going way longer than I thought it was going to go. But that's cool because I didn't understand that he was going to make some kind of insanely complex, like triple layered Spike Lee, Malcolm X, Black Unity pitch in the middle of this album. So what am I supposed to do? Then we get to Peace, guitar-led, gentle. I didn't like this song at first because the guitar was too loud, but I actually ended up loving it. Another wonderful verse from Ab-Soul, and this whole idea is fine by me. Just again, his whole just flow is so easy. And then there's this beat change, and we get Lupe Fiasco's verse. And again, it's very jazzy. It's important. A lot of... No, she's not awake. It's the thing saying it's almost out of battery. And Lupe makes reference to Art Blakey, one of my favorite jazz musicians. If you like, sometimes jazz is too challenging or whatever, listen to Art Blakey, this one in particular. And the Jazz Messengers, Blue Note, nice. Hard bop, good stuff. And stick work, she's talking about drums and stick work and Art Blakey and jazz. Lupe Fiasco doing his thing. I'll spin some sonnets off the top like I'm pinned comments. Rhyming sonnets with comments is so funny because comments are like the opposite of poetry. They're just like terrible reaction. But then sonnets are obviously a very rigid form of poetry. It's just great. It's great. It's like, that's River Styx, I'm wrathful, but I resurrect with my Rowan. This is why the Doechii verse is still going to bug me, because Vince Staples got the shine, Lupe got the shine. Okay. And then the beat changes again. And then we have a verse from Doughburger. Okay, I don't know who he is. Okay? I've never heard his voice before. Did he know he was going to die when he wrote this verse? I don't know how he died. I didn't look it up. You can tell me in the comments if you want. I don't know if I care. But this is a verse from beyond the grave. Also, he says, if know better, then they would know better. Going back to the theme of ignorance, okay? The reason that people act ignorantly is because they don't know better, okay? Maybe. I'm speaking in the past tense like I ain't still here, and he's not still here, cussing your blind ass out. I know you're still here. Leave them effing drugs alone. Get on your A game. You're getting old. It's getting cold every day, gang. So it's like, he's the angel. He's the angel from It's a Wonderful Life. He's like literally coming from beyond the grave to tell his best friend, hey, get off the drugs. You're getting old. I'm glad your ass was in a cast and not a casket, meaning that he broke his leg. He didn't actually die. You could have died but survived. Now go get your cash, bitch. Like, it is literally a angel from heaven coming down and talking to the artist behind this album, Ab-Soul, and telling him life is precious. Do the best you can with it. It's good that you learned your lesson. Now get off of drugs and figure stuff out. This is It Can't Be Life level. So this Can't Be Life, Jay-Z and Scarface. Scarface's verse off This Can't Be Life is the most emotionally harrowing verse in hip-hop history. Truly. Tell me in the comments, correct me if you want. This is that level. This is Scarface level of emotional pain and strength. Seriously, what a gem is this album? What a gem. Am I really going to say it's not a masterpiece because of that Ty Dolla $ign feature? She's squirting. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe you gotta... just 3 squirtins? I don't need 3. 2. I got a 2 squirtin maximum. Okay. It's Sunday morning, y'all. It's doing well. Another beat change, and then Punch, one of the executives and artists on TDE, just goes on and talks about TDE. Talks about, I shed a tear hearing Doe's voice. I pray for peace in the back of a Rolls Royce. Survivor's guilt gripped my soul. I ain't had no choice, but those tears turned to joy. I rejoiced. So this song is amazing because it's all about like this life and death and tears of joy and tears of pain and tears of grief, and this whole sense of like all these things that are happening in this song and in this album. They say God's got a sense of humor. You want to make him laugh, tell him the plans for the future. Next song is called The Me is Limitless. The Sky is Limitless. Soft, kind of dancey beat. Again, I don't really like it, but it's interesting. Nice kind of singy chorus. Killer verse from Ab-Soul. Like, just, I know I came in this itch with a penny and a wish. All right, penny. Okay. Took the shot hard way. I prayed I made a MySpace page and a janky sidekick. Live instrument. I think he said stole instrumentals offline wire. Record after record. Like I had priors burned my mixtape on a blank CD. He's talking about his life growing up and trying to figure out how to make beats and how to be an artist and how to be a rapper and how he did it back in the old days. The album ends with Righteous Man, which is this cool jazzy song, which is a sample of How Much a Dollar Cost by Kendrick Lamar, right? I don't think that's a sample. Is it? Is Kendrick Lamar's sample? Is he sampling something? I don't think so. So it's a pretty brave thing to do, to sample To Pimp a Butterfly. And he just uses this, just like Kendrick did, uses these horns to just almost like Louis Armstrong style, like the kind of like big band emotion behind here. I'm moving masses, I ain't Catholic, a Christian talk, communion, praying for unity. My community usually viewing me as an activist. I was just a lunatic, double cup, and my activist. Again, activist, that's the one side of him. And then double cup my activist, meaning he's hooked on lean, meaning he's an addict. So again, trying to put together these contradictions. Try to go platinum F on some models and actresses. So like, is he going to be one or is he going to be the other? And then he says, light you up like Raichu. Raichu? Raichu. The disappointing evolution of Pikachu. Come at me, Pokemon people, because I'm going off. I play Pokemon Go every day. And part of the reason I didn't want to review Ab-Soul is one of my least favorite Pokemon. Lunatone, get out of here. Solrock, get out of here. Ab-Soul, absolutely get out of here. With your asymmetrical stupid dog face. I do not like Ab-Soul. I just don't like it. So I was like, okay, but there's no way that's what his name means. And we just figured out that Ab-Soul is a Latin English mix-up of Del Amo, where he's from. But still, Raichu is a pretty specific Pokemon reference. And Ab-Soul came out in like 2002, so maybe he would have been young enough. I don't know. All right, so I told you I was going to tell you an anecdote. I did not expect this video to go past 30 minutes, so that's pretty wild. So I'm going to tell you a funny anecdote. First, I gotta shout out my my Patreons. They give me money so I can buy music. I'm still waiting for more Doechii albums to be available. I'm sure they will be now that she's been Grammy nominated. So I'm going to be buying Doechii. I think I'm going to be buying this. I think we're going to look back and say this is the year of TDE mature rap domination, just young and old and everything. Nolan002, OG Nick Marsh, and Quentin Walker wanted shout-outs, and they got them. So here's the story. Popeye, okay? That's not his real name, but he likes anonymity. One of the smartest people I know. My wife, the doctor and scientist, is the smartest person I know. And she's a scientist, and people with doctorates in humanities think they've done a lot. People with doctorates in science, whole nother level of complexity and intelligence there. So this is one of her friends, from kind of the grad school world, and he's super smart and knows, like, seems like he knows everything. We're going for a walk around Walden Woods in Massachusetts. And he's telling us how he's been taking mushroom classes. He's been taking classes to learn and identify mushrooms and how exciting it is and all these great things. And so as we're walking, he'll see a mushroom and he'll pick it up and he'll look at it and look at it very carefully and kind of think about it. And every single time I'd go, oh, cool, what kind of mushroom is it? He'd go, I don't know. And he'd throw it over his shoulder. Okay, that happened once. The second time, what kind of mushroom is it? I don't know. And he threw it over his shoulder. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because like he's one of the smartest human beings I've ever met, and he is studying mushrooms, and he did not identify a single mushroom, and we looked at like 20 mushrooms. And that's why he's smart. He could have said anything and I would have been like, oh, cool. He could have snowed me over. He could have said anything to seem smart. But instead, he seems wise because what Socrates says, all that I know is that I know nothing. He just knew. He didn't know what kind of mushroom it was. And there wasn't even any point in pretending to know what kind of mushroom it is. So I don't know Ab-Soul. All I know is this album, and it's awesome. Okay? So just one time in your life, you just got to have that feeling to just say, I don't know. All right. Till next time. I'm cold. I'm getting sunburned at the same time. It's fall. I'm going to read the police blotter and figure out what's going on with all those gunshots back there. It's wild out here. All right, there's the camera.